Welcome to Monday with the Mayor. I'm Bill Potter, and joining me now is the Mayor of Huntingburg. Actually, we're joining him in his office today. Last week, the wastewater project is getting things going and underway, and procedures are started. What's the procedure, and what will that mean for consumers?
Well, thank you, Bill. This is a very complicated process, and I appreciate the time to just kind of get a little bit more in depth about where we are. This project is what it involves is a major expansion of our force main, which is our main line that runs from the north side of the city down to the wastewater plant. The line that was installed in 1974. Some 40 years ago, is at capacity. If you think about what Huntingburg in 1974 was like on the north side and where we are now, the number of houses and businesses that have been constructed since that time, the project that was done in 74 is now at capacity. We've got more growth expected in that same area in the years to come. If we do not have a project like this, then we would be subject to, from the Department of Environmental Management, a sewer ban, which would mean there would be no growth in the city at any time. So this project has been on the table for about 3 years. It's been studied. Also, at the same time, our wastewater department has always been running on a very thin margin of profitability or break-even margin. And so with some of the state-required changes in treatment of wastewater, there's some additional costs that we're expecting in the future. So this proposed rate increase takes care of both operational needs. Even if the project didn't exist, it would take care of some operational needs and provide for funding for this new project, which allows the city to continue to grow. So it's a long process that got us to this thing, but it seems like it's moving very quickly. But there's actually been Board of Works, other boards have reviewed this project to this point, and it's just now getting to the rate study. The rate study came back. The project itself is around $3.8 million. And when you add to that some of the costs associated with administrating it, around $4 million is where we're $4 to $4.5 million is where we're going to be. We've identified, in looking at this project, we've identified 3 sources of funding for the project. We'll be using $1.5 million from our tax increment financing funds from TIF, because this project does affect the industrial park and the areas that are in a TIF district. So we're taking $1.5 million from our tax increment financing to apply to this project.
That's not new money.
That's money that exists, that's there, that's been collected through the TIF district for several years. So that doesn't affect the tax rate or the ratepayer at all. Another $1.4 million. Fortunately, our electric utility is in a financial situation where they have some cash on hand that is sitting in the account right now. That we feel would be better utilized as a low interest loan from the electric department to the wastewater department. So we're taking $1.4 million from the electric department and paying them back at a 1% interest rate to, again, reduce the amount of the rate increase that possibly could come. That leaves another $1.4 million in the project, and that's the part of the project that's going to go out for a bond issue that will affect the rates of the ratepayer that our wastewater customers pay. So we're looking at a $1.4 million bond issue and a little tick up for covering operational costs. The total amount of the increase approved or recommended, by the Utility Rate Advisory Board was an 18% overall increase in rates for wastewater customers. Breaking it down, about 12% of that is directly related to operational costs. So this is the 12% would be something we would have to do right now, whether we had this project or not. So a 12% increase is directly tied to operational costs for the wastewater department. Then the additional 6% is more related to the expansion project, the force main project. So a total of 18%. What the Utility Rate Advisory Board did last week was they were presented all this information at a public meeting in November, given a chance to look at all the numbers and decide, should we phase this in 2 steps or just do it in 1 step? And it was the feeling of the board last Thursday that they recommended to the Common Council that there be one increase of 18%. So where we are in the process now is coming up this week at our council meeting on the 10th, on Thursday night. The council will begin the process on first reading of a rate increase for the wastewater department. What that does is it allows for sets up a public hearing where citizens will have an opportunity to come ask questions and make comments before the final rate is approved. And that hearing is scheduled for our council meeting on December 22nd. So it's not a done deal. It's probably something that needs to happen from all that we see, but there is part of the process is that you receive public input. And on December 22nd, there will be a council meeting, a public hearing to receive comment on or questions about the rate increase. So it's still moving down the road. 18% sounds like a pretty good jump, and it is. And we looked at a lot of things, a lot of ways, such as the TIF and the loan, to have as much of a reduced amount of impact on rates as we possibly could. But it comes down to the fact that it's a utility. As utilities are structured, they are structured to the ratepayer basically covers the cost of the operation of the facility. It wouldn't be fair to pass some of this burden on to the taxpayers who do not, maybe, because our wastewater department serves more than just the city. Mm-hmm. There's areas outside of the community that also get our wastewater service. So it'd be unfair for all the city taxpayers to take the burden of some of this work. So you spread it out over all the users of the department. So it's been looked at that way. Right now, the city of Huntingburg's present average customer bill for wastewater, if you have about a 4,000 gallon usage, your average bill right now is $41.70, about $41.70. With an 18% increase, that'll make that bill roughly $49.20. So about an $8 increase per month. And I know there's people on fixed incomes, lower income families, that that $8 does make a difference. So we're trying to get the information out far enough in advance that you can start using planning for that potential increase. At that $49.20, Huntingburg's wastewater rates are still within the 50th, right in the middle of the pack, so to speak. In southwestern Indiana, we have information on rates. Other communities, same size, same type of number of customers, and we're right in the middle. Our goal was to keep that under the $50, and we will do that with a $49.20 rate. So it's a lot of moving parts. We've had a lot of eyes on this. There's been a lot of work from our wastewater department, our clerk treasurer's office, our rate consultants, the city council, the utility rate advisory board, the board of public works have all reviewed this project. It's one of those things, Bill, that nobody likes a rate increase. I mean, nobody likes a rate increase, but I equate it to when there are certain functions in your home or in your business, when they break, you have to fix them. This is a project that has to happen because we need this to keep operational. So you figure out ways to fit it in your budget and make it operational and continue on. So we still have a ways to go in this next month to finalize all these deals. There's still opportunity for comment and questions, and if anybody has comment or questions, I would suggest they can call us here at City Hall, contact your council member, whatever, and they're wanting to hear from you on this. But it's a project that really is essential for the city. It results in a rate increase, which is unfortunate, but it's also responsible to the ratepayer to have this type of increase. It's an operational issue.
When was the last time there was a rate increase? The
last rate increase for the wastewater department was in 2011. And that was about 5 years ago. So and again at that time a similar rate increase was suggested. Again, around a 17 or 18% increase. The council at that time reduced the amount of the rate increase from the recommended rate, which has resulted in why the department has worked at a small margin for some time. I must say that the wastewater department under Mike Kemp has done a tremendous job of staying within their budget, finding ways to be more efficient in their operations. We've done a lot of cost reductions in the last 3 to 4 years to stay off this increase. Some have said that we should have done an increase maybe 2 years ago to lighten the burden. That would have probably something that was considered, but was not until we really knew the full impact on the additional project. So while a one-time increase is a larger jump than in smaller pieces, the net effect is the same. You would have been paying the same amount whether you started paying 2 years ago or you're paying now. I think the net impact would be relatively the same.
And that's what happens when you get progressive.
That's right. So it's a project that would be going forward regardless of the amount of development that's going on. But with the additional housing that's expected, with the reopening of the hospital as the senior apartments, and with the growth that's continuing to happen on the north side, it's just time to make sure this project works and keeps Huntingburg in operation and without a ban on any growth that could happen in the future.
All right. Well, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you for the time, Bill.
And I hope folks out there understand now, sometimes these things aren't done lightly.
That's right.
It really is tough, and there's a large group of people that are involved.
A lot of good eyes on this, and I want to thank all the folks that have, council, the Board of Works, the Utility Rate Advisory Board, all have had input on this and tried to make a responsible, good decision for our citizens.
We have been talking with Huntingburg City Mayor Denny Spinner. This has been Monday with the Mayor on WJTS.